So, hello and welcome everyone to another special episode in this series of videos where I document my quest to build the automation game world in the game Transportiva 2. So the year is 2016, so the end of the build phase, and now in this series of special episodes I'm showing the different parts of the map to different angles. So there are train rides, bus rides, car rides, a flyover via plane. And so this video is about us going straight across the map from east to west and doing so by train and by train only. So for that we start in the very east, Al-Rilma as part of Dalluha. And so here is the city, the oil port to the left, and the passenger station. And there is our train, as fate will have it. So here a multiple unit, which is brand new for 2016, and it's the Lawston from the Asian car set. And if we click on it, maybe it's a bit too large for the purposes, so it's barely half full. But Dalluha being Dalluha, we can probably then expect it to be equipped rather lavishly for those who don't want to fly. And no, there are actually no plane routes from Bazara to Kronagrad. They simply wouldn't work. They would be inferior compared to the train due to the taxiing and all. So it would, and we can hop aboard so we don't miss it, and so we can probably rather expect it to be not having the seats like in normal trains, but a bit more space, a bit more lavishly equipped, and it would have less than the nominal 115 seats that's is standard. So here we leave Al-Rilma, take a look at the Al-Rilma cargo station with ore and other stuff waiting. Here we have an oil well next to the oil port that's very busy, bringing having tankers bringing crude oil to Farinia and to Gasmea, and also having other tankers bringing in the Ahanan refined oil that's then taken by train to Advonia. This train here grabs coal that's shipped here from Yarta, so from the north coast, and then this goes to the steel mill at Zmeshki. Here we see the skyline of Bazara, so the Dalluhan capital, and with a recently remodeled fancy train station with this wavy architecture. And yeah, here we see one of the oil trains going between the Al-Rilma port and then the inland train station of Advonia in the Ahanan basin, and that's then carrying the refined oil. Here we see people walking from the bus stop to the Bazara airport to fly somewhere, and we see one plane landing at Bazara airport. So the Dalluhan Airlines are the last one on the map still using the commuter jets. All other local airlines or regional airlines have switched to turboprops to Q400s, but Dalluha being Dalluha, they still love their jets, and the only other jets on the map are those big jets going between Kronagrad and Harford, and we might see some of them. So then let's take a look into Bazara here from this train bridge. So some nice high rises and large buildings. Another oil well ahead, and we see one more coal train. No, this is a stone train, and here are bricks from the newly opened construction materials factory in Mostovka at the south of Lake Mara, and this was one of the few industries opened after 1990, so when the Ahanan borders opened. And here the stone comes from Nakulik by a ship to Al-Rilma, and then from Al-Rilma to Mara, and then by truck from Mara to Mostovka, and then the same trucks bring the bricks back, and here we see a few bricks also coming back. This is another coal train. Nope, that's an ore train, and in those boxcars are then tools and machines and goods from Advonia, so from within the Ahanan basin, and this is how Dalluha is supplied. And then on the way back, it's taking ore again from Yartas, so coming from the hinterlands and then to Yartas, and then the ore goes from Yartas to Al-Rilma, and then same deal, just that this ore is shipped to Advonia and then by ship to the steel mill in Novobeskov. And it's one of the busiest train lines here, where lots of stuff is moved into the Akhan Basin. There we see one 757 landing coming from Harford at Kronagrad Airport, while now this is a coal train blocking our view. We can still see the approach of the plane and then touchdown. And yeah, so that's the big jets, and we're still waiting. Yeah. One more train, so we see two trains in the distance, or three rather, waiting. This one carries tools and machines from Mara to Advonia, and we see one of the Easter eggs actually that I put on this map just for filming purposes. So we see a mod with cars, so then machines are modeled here as cars on these car transport wagons, and these are Mara cars from my automation main branch, where the Mara Machines factory, which we won't see today, but you can see in other videos, they are the stand-in for their main factory, and that's then Mara cars being exported, or rather shipped from here to other parts of Akhana, and there are other trains then leaving from the Mara cargo station to other parts of the world, also with Mara cars. But you don't get this in the save game that's for download. This would be just one extra mod for some gimmick, and it has enough mods that I sort of need. So I simply leave in this Easter egg for filming purposes. Yeah, so here we have now in the midst of entering Kronagrad. So again, some high-rise buildings. The old a train station building, but new, but not fancy platforms, so nothing wavy here. And then we have the second largest airport on the map, which is the Kronagrad airport. Harford's one is bigger, and we'll see why later today. And this is all still Kronagrad. So now we exit, and we wait for one of the commuter trains that will take us further straight across the map through the Akhanan Basin and towards Wazduk. And it looks like, yeah, we probably have to wait a bit, so I'll cut that part out of the video, and then we'll continue soon further west. And here we see the train leaving, going back to Bazara and Al-Rilma, while more cargo trains are rolling and waiting in the distance. So there is our commuter train incoming. So we see that we can see that this is one generation behind the Lawston-on-Cleres that we had earlier. It is equally effective, but yeah, more of Akhanan charm than anything modern or fancy. So there are two of these, or rather four of these running here. So two clockwise and two counterclockwise through the Akhanan Basin, and we take the clockwise one. It's not the most direct route to where we want to go, to Wazduk, but it takes us through a path that I think haven't shown for a fair while. Whereas the other route, the counterclockwise, was shown at least to an extent by the car ride that you will also find in the playlist. So that took that sim that we followed in their car. So each person here I like to call a sim, and if they own cars and the public transport isn't that great to where they want to go, then they take the cars. Otherwise, they take public transport. That sim went basically on a route that goes along the same way as the counterclockwise route through the basin. But that's not that interesting, so we take the not a scenic route, but it's at least the more novel route. And here we see, oh yeah, plenty of people in Kronagrad, their cars, and a unique view of an incoming map should be the Tupolev, so the other plane that's running between Harford and Kronagrad. So probably this building should be demolished. They probably wouldn't build this here, but the reason why the airport is so close to the city is that otherwise the planes would get stuck in the mountain ridges around. So this can avoid that. It's not as serious anymore as it was with the earlier planes from the 50s and 60s, but of course they wouldn't move the airport now. So we finally can exit. So as you see, very busy corridor here with all the trains, mainly cargo trains, and then these few passenger trains almost get in the way, and we have to wait again. I wonder why. Is there something coming from the Dalluha side? No, that was just... it's the other train that is now leaving there because they block the entire intersection, because these trains, or at least some of these trains on these routes, are so long they would also block the other exits, and then you can get deadlocks. So that's why large chunks are blocked at once. And here you see one of the empty car transport wagons. So they just brought again more Mara cars from the Mara machines factory, so the car factory, to the port here in Advonia, and two of the cargo trains are waiting for us now. One tanker train that brings a refined oil here to Advonia and then fuel back to Dalluha, and this is, I suspect, one of the coal trains between Al-Rilma and Gasmea that we've seen earlier as well. There are 4 of those, I think, running, so a full steamer complement of coal, all coming from the hinterland, I think. Has been a while, but these are frequent guests on this line. And here we have then the big bridge system that crosses this big river. So here we see the Advonia port and cargo station, which has sort of merged together with Kronagrad due to the map constraints, and then one more river that comes here from the southern end of the hinterlands. We also see plenty of car traffic and truck traffic distributing further goods into the hinterlands and for the cars, so then along the northern route of the river that cuts across the Johannan Basin. So first stop, Glinsk, and it's a larger station because here these basin trains stop both when they go into the basin and when they come out of the basin, and one runs clockwise and one runs counterclockwise, and there are 2 trains on each route, so that's why I said 4 earlier. And here they all have their own platform, because I can't really control trains at all. They just run on their routes, and I can't control signals either, so that's why this is a bit of overkill. But otherwise I'm going to get again traffic jams. And we see... that's not the counterpart, that's one of the counterclockwise trains just coming from where we are heading, from Sarki. So here we can see it in action, they're all identical. So we're not even half full, but I need this amount of trains. So one Lawston, which I had run here before the save game, so one 115 train couldn't cope, so then I chose to run 2 of the next smaller but sort of modern trains. These are, I think, from 1995. So these are necessary to move all people that need to be moved along these clockwise and counterclockwise basin routes. So autosave again, where we can look at the gas truck that here stops in Glinsk and, yeah, transport something. Bit of a loss what that could be. Maybe one of the food delivery trucks from Sarki to here to Glinsk. But that's a wild guess. So we now turn south. So going clockwise, and here this train route right through the middle of Glinsk. And so you can sit in your cafe or whatever that is, and then look in awe at the passing trains. And here we see the city center of Glinsk, so there's also Corona a little bit, and more empty coal trains from Gasmea. So now we're moving south. I think it has been a while since we've been here, if at all. So now past Glinsk. So here is Lake Mara on the other side. So the very distance there is, see, the airport and Kronagrad. Probably a better view from a bit higher up when the trees are not in the way. And then approaching Sarki on the other side of the river, and here we see plenty of ships they're normally going forth, currently not at the moment, so there in the distance is Kronagrad, and this is Lake Mara. Mara on the other side here in the south, and here is now Sarki. More spread out, less high rises in here, big hub for buses and for trucks, since Sarki is one of the main ports here on Lake Mara. Old train station, a small one, but also new platforms. And this is our next stop, because we stop at every passenger station. So there are no express trains around here. Even these commuter trains are, yeah, not even half full. There are a few instances where they are half full, but I think at the moment, yeah, it's equal. People want to go here, and then people want to go somewhere else from here. There's a train line coming down, so this is all from the south, from Yelta, and this is then used to supply further stuff to the steel mill at Azmeshki, which we will pass in the distance. This particular train is one of two that supplies Novobeskov with stuff and also carries back, most importantly, stuff from Novobeskov. So we see lumber. The rest, I think, is empty. And then this smorgasbord of wagons is being filled then at Novobeskov with assorted stuff coming from... And that was a misclick, sorry. With assorted stuff that is coming from all over the basin and needs to be carried to Yelta and then maybe further on. These tracks here all go to the big cargo train hub that is Zmeshki, and there we see the steel mill in the distance, which isn't smoking, should be smoking. Maybe all the coal trains get sort of stuck somewhere, and then they will come all at once, and then the steel mill starts smoking again. And here we are behind the cargo train, but that should stop now at Novobeskov on their own tracks, and we have our own track, though that shouldn't be a big deal. And Novobeskov is to the right, and of course the namesake or the name giver for the road to Novobeskov, a cycling race in the cyclist tactics, and two planes on the sky. So the red one in the middle, the big one, is the 757 from Harford, and the other one, if that's blue, then that's coming from Berlau. And yeah, plenty of trucks and buses. So this goes between Novobeskov and Leningrad, and the trucks probably supplied by the bricks factory that also exists here, but we can't see at the moment. What we can see is this cargo train being unloaded and then loaded. So we'll see the lumber disappear. That will go to the tools factory in Wazduk, and then the other wagons, which I think open on the other side when they're loaded. Then we see the stuff disappear on the platform behind it. So that's when these the train is loaded, and now it's magically turn around. Feature that's a bit irksome, but again, you don't have although you have a mod that lets the train run backwards, but I think it's an acceptable compromise. And then we're leaving Novobeskov. So again, no high rises, rather small city. And here you can, yeah, enjoy the view again of the train lines. Here we have the plastics factory. So that takes the oil from Al-Rilma and converts it to plastics. And now we can look at the bricks factory that should appear, yeah, behind the trees. So that gets stone and then produces bricks and then distributes those bricks everywhere else. And this bricks factory and the steel mill, then they share a big cargo hub. Also there's a food factory somewhere here on the right up there, and that's I think one of the grain, or the single grain train that goes from here to Cleres, where we're also going today, journey to cross the map by train, and that's gets grain from the northern coast to here. And here another great view of the train station with trains in there. So that one is being loaded just back from Mara with more bricks. And here is the bricks factory and the steel mill, the big Azmeshki steel mill, now properly smoking in the background. So here we're now making our way towards Volkov. So it gets a bit more hilly here in the terrain, as you can see. And yeah, these have to be quick because we are next here in the crossing. But we have to wait for the cargo train ahead, so the grain train is slow. One more counterclockwise commuter train coming from Volkov, where we're now going, and then we go on under all this mountainous terrain here in a big tunnel. So that's probably then the Achanen counterpart of the, I don't know, Gotthard tunnel in Switzerland or so. So here we have ore coming in again for Schmersky steel mill from Zliza. So that's the one of the three ways how to get stuff from outside the basin into the basin. So one in the north in Zliza, one in the south in Yalta, and one in the east in Al-Rilma. So Ghana is very dependent on the Dalluha port and cargo train station. So behind the tunnel is Volkov. So here we see old tracks because they are fast enough. Trains don't go fast here, and the curves are also fine, the radiuses. Whereas here it's new tracks, so that makes these curves a bit quicker. A diesel locomotive, because it doesn't need to be strong. That just brings steel from the Azhmersky steel mill to Wazduk every once in a while. This doesn't even run all the time. That's just a supplementary supply. And there's a plane that could go to Terzo, maybe, from Willburg. Wild guess. So here, Volkov, rather small city here in the mountains, so no high rises, or almost no high rises. Rather spread out. Short stop. Unloading more than we loaded, and now we're heading to Wazduk, where we will switch trains again. That we can go across the map. So here, more Volkov. And then we should have soon a great perspective on the very busy hub that Wazduk is. So with one of the largest ports on the map, and at least one of the busiest cargo train stations, maybe not the largest one, probably also. And a city that has grown through into the hills. So that's on the other side, that is Wazduk, and with several heavy industries. Here we have the goods factory. That's technically, or I've named that it still belongs to Volkov. There is the tools factory that comes now back into view at 12 o'clock. You see the smoking chimneys, and then in the distance we have a fuel refinery that's with the black smoke, and then in between a machines factory. And now here we have an extensive network of bridges across the river, and also across the other tracks that go to Zliza, and trains are frequently then here exiting and entering and waiting on each other. And we're now adding to the mix. And there's a port, a very busy port behind that bridge, so no ships go beyond that bridge. That's has a bit of craftsmanship to it. And we probably have to wait a fair bit till we are allowed in, because we are a bit of the interloper between all the cargo trains. So that's the main purpose of the Wazduk station, and the passenger trains will also exist here. So both the two lines that run across the basin, and then the third line that goes from here to Zliza and to Willburg, where we want to go, because from here across the map is to Willburg. And while we have autosave, there is the train that goes Wazduk, Zliza, Willburg. That's a diesel, because there is no catenary beyond Zliza, so they wouldn't have to harmonize their volts and etc. And the frequency for the DC, for the AC, alternating current. They rather run diesels, so a different look. And here we have lumber coming in from the sawmills in the north. We might be next after the passenger train and they might simply jump over. No, I think we have first the other cargo train exiting, but it's always hard to guess because it's all automated based on hard-coded rules, which trains and signals get priority, and it's sometimes a bit of a guesswork in these bigger stations. Here we look like that cargo train is getting priority. We should get another cargo train here on these two empty tracks. They're spaced a little bit apart so that some of the cars that you see there behind the tree have a chance to actually go across this crossing. I've tried and failed to build a bridge here for the cars, so they have to wait for the crossing. And that's why we see the only instance of 4-lane roads in Ahana. They're simply needed so that this a railway crossing doesn't jam the entire road network here in Western Ahana. So as you can see now, the barrier is open and at least a few cars can pass. Okay, we are next. And what I will do is, so since we are blocking the other passenger train with our entrance, I'll simply jump over once we have arrived in Wazduk to that passenger train, because that's what we want. So some trucks here and the tools factory in Wazduk. And here we now enter the Wazduk passenger station, so one track for that shuttle to the north and then to the west, Lisa and Willburg, and then here new platforms and a medium old cargo train, a passenger train and cargo station in Wazduk, because of all the space they can get for the goods that are being shipped here, although now you actually find all the cargo platforms empty. Okay, then let's switch trains. It's still here. Nice. So then we can switch, and then this one is actually nicely full, so people want to leave Ahana and go to Gasmea. Who would have thought? But this might also take a while, since there are plenty of cargo trains coming in from all directions, and we're also no, this a commuter train. The other one goes further east towards Kronagrad. Yeah, but there are more cargo trains coming in, so we'll probably get a good look at those. And we also, yeah, so these start to fill up now with ships that are docking, and then that cargo is then loaded onto the platforms, and then these trains pick those up, and everything here goes to Schleswig in the north. So, okay, we're next. So we'll turn now right and go then north. So under the bridges we just came from. And yeah, plenty of cars here and there waiting, but no jams, and they're always clear eventually, so that works. I think I played until 2019 or so when recording the coastline video, and then everything was cleared and nothing was stuck. Some cars might despawn at some point, but that's fine. I don't care. And here high rises on the outskirts of Wazduk, and then the extensive bridge network here to sort out the train traffic. One of our counterparts, or the other counterpart, there are only two of these, but double header to carry all up to 120 people who want to go to Gasmea and then eventually have to come back to Ghana. So on the left, the car road mountain pass, and here we have our own track that we share with some of the stuff that comes from Zmeszki, where we were earlier, so that there is a shortcut, and the track in the middle is exclusively for cargo trains between Schleswig and Wazduk, so that they get a priority, or at least that we are not too much in the way after we've cleared the tracks under the bridge. And the advantage is here, most of the time the passenger train also has priority. So on the other side of the mountain pass here is a small river, to the right Notki, with mines and the lumber mill. So here we see, yeah, more trains exiting from Yalta. The road, Slesia, sorry, and the road towards Slesia at the bottom right. And we are a bit up high and then descend into Slesia. We can see the, not really skyline, but the outskirts of Slesia on the right. So that's the city with the passenger train station where we will stop. And if we were to continue on towards the left, that goes to the dead end. That's the cargo train station. That's the terminus. Two heavy cargo trains exiting simultaneously, so that's what we have. They have two tracks, so that the station is cleared. And then if they need to wait, then they can wait here uphill. So we're now making a sharp turn. So that's all the warehouses for the cargo station. That's needed because there's plenty of stuff coming here via ship from all over the north coast. And we see more trains parked and exiting. And we're going here into the completely rebuilt train station. So it was a much smaller one in the olden days when this was a border town and not much traffic was going between here and Gasmea. Now it is an important border town. So you see all the people here coming from the north coast and also wanting to go to Willburg. And we have now all the people on board who either want to go to the north coast or to Willburg. So that's why this train is also pretty full. And to make room for these large trains, the old train station which was here where we are now was demolished, and then the new one was built on the side so that we can actually fit properly on the platform. And we are supposed we are going to be full. And people will be left waiting. Yeah. Well, since we saw our counterpart just entering Wazduk, that doesn't matter. And even here we almost fit to the platform. So now we go into something that's absolutely new, brand new. To the right, a bridge across the cargo train station, and then that goes to Gasmea. That hasn't existed before. That was built after the 1990s, after the borders have opened. So now let's take a look at the big Slesia cargo station with two trains and plenty of cargo lying around. So that's why they need all the warehouses. And we see other trains incoming. Not at the moment. This is surprisingly empty. Normally there is more traffic because these also get all carried away without being lost. There's the farm. And then we're making our way towards Gasmea. So there's the river, the Albe, and on the other side of the Albe is already Gasmea. So now we are not exactly halfway, a bit less, but we are across Ahana entirely. So the bridge marks the border. And then we join tracks with the tracks that go to Bad Neusund in the north. There is the Bad Neusund train that also comes from Willburg. So this is the Albe with ship traffic, of course. And the old stone bridge is the old border crossing here in the north. And they probably kept this as a heritage bridge. And now these roads much more frequented between Ahana and Gasmea. And yeah, as I said, we're joining the track, now a dual carriageway towards Willburg. One plane taking off from Willburg Airport. Might have been green, so then this goes to Cleres. And then here, yeah, bridge across the Albe. And on the other side, there is this tunnel. We'll see Willburg, the regional capital of Schemland, so the German-speaking part of Gasmea. And Willburg also got a big update to their train station, as we will see when we go there. To the right will soon appear Willburg Airport. There it is. And it also has its own train station, but we won't stop here. So this is only for the commuter train Willburg Airport at Bad Neusund. Anything interesting to see? Yeah, some ship traffic or the skyline of Willburg while we wait on the autosave. And I'm using an SSD, so even on an SSD it takes a while to save this huge map. Not many people waiting here, but that's normal. That's just the airport people. Here on the left we see the old tracks, a single track that went to Willburg. That's still here, but the bridge has been torn down. And this bridge is also entirely new, because on the other side, in Willburg, the passenger terminal is on the right compared to the cargo terminal. So if we are coming from the or we were coming from the left with the old bridge and then getting in the way of the cargo trains, which was okay as there was just one single short train running toward north to Bad Neusund, but now with this extended traffic and also the newly built high-speed train line, where there is also an entire video about the high-speed train ride, this wasn't feasible anymore. So this bridge was built so that we can approach the passenger station and its tracks on the right, from the right, and leave all the cargo trains alone. So they are here on the left. I'm waiting at the moment, but there is enough cargo traffic here as well that this is warranted. So the small Willburg port, and then we're moving into the completely rebuilt, revamped and remodeled Willburg train station, which is now a proper hub both for cargo and for passengers. So passengers going to Hana on this route, and passenger going via high-speed train to Pigton, and passenger going via commuter train towards the airport at Bad Neusund. That track is on the left, and passenger going via commuter train through eastern Gasmea, and that's what we are going to do. So we don't take the high-speed train, that's what the other video is for, but we are taking the slower route that we can take a look. And fun fact, this clock shows the local in-game time when I record this. So all these clocks on the stations are actually show the system time in Transport Fever 2. So that's Willburg. Let's see whether we have one of the commuter trains here being... I see one. Yeah, there is one there. So this shouldn't take too long since it's here. So we can probably then look at the very busy, so lots of people walking. So each sim is actually literally walking to their new destination. So and they come out of the underpasses here and go into that. So and then they move where they want to go. So all these here want to take the high-speed train towards Pigton and Harford. Others want to take the commuter train. Others probably take the exit here, yeah, and be run over by a bus on the way to the bus station. So that's also been, I think, rebuilt and expanded. I think the old one didn't have enough space. So now we have buses here so local ones to Rosendorf to Nelova, to Terzo across the Alps, and to Leningrad, and to Rensweiler and the airport. So plenty of buses here. So that's the airport bus, that's the Bentley bus. The others are the standard Volvo buses that run in the entire EU part. Here we also have a couple of trucks which have to be distributed to 3 different stations. So one for fuel cargo, one for bricks and stuff, and others for stuff like goods and machines. So there isn't enough space here, and so while I'm talking we see the high-speed train coming in and the commuter train coming in. So let's take in that site. So the high-speed train to the very left and the commuter train in the middle. And we're catching the newest commuter train, so a 2-car unit. There are 2 other 3-car units on the route, but I needed a third one for the commuter trains to cope with all the people. And the high-speed train is full. And this one is also full, so you can see this is needed, and people coming from the bus, and then they want to jump on the train. And we see stone waiting, we see steel waiting, and we see tools waiting and machines. So there should be plenty of cargo trains that we'll meet on our journey with this commuter train. So that's an Alstom-Caradia mod. That's a mod. There are no useful multiple units for passengers in the EU car set, so I had to choose a mod. And we will see, hopefully, most probably see why that one over the others. And let's hop aboard. One advantage is it has decent camera angles. Because some mods have all fancy stuff, but not the plain view just across the track from the locomotive. So we're full, we're not taking everything with us, but that's not a problem. There are two others running. High-speed train probably also going to depart very soon. And another commuter train. They should be that close, but anyway, because they are all sort of blocked by cargo trains, so that'll sort itself out eventually. So here we see 3. And we're not getting in the way of the high-speed train. Not really. So they have their own set of tracks just here for the exit from the station. They share these 2 tracks that take all the passenger trains in here, and then we will share the old tracks with all cargo trains, and the high-speed train here has its own set of high-speed tracks that was built straight through the landscape. So they're gone, and ignore that trains pass through bridges. That's yeah, something that can't really be avoided. That's the limits of the code. That's overall pretty impressive if you ask me. So most bridges are fine just with these very limited for space bridges that I have to cope with here. If you have more space and build things properly further apart, then there are no issues at all. But for these cramped environments, this isn't built yet, and so we have to move over completely to the other side. So on the left, the high-speed train tracks vanish, and we're now on the track together with all the cargo trains. And next stop, Rensweiler, so the next city west of Willburg. Another high-speed train coming in, and the other counterpart from the train that we were in earlier is also waiting at the top. To the right is just a depot for the train, so nothing of note. And then we pass under that new bridge that allows the approach to Willburg train station from the right, and here Rensweiler passenger station. A bit too large maybe for the city, but again, yeah, they decided to splurge here in Rensweiler, and they built themselves a large cargo station, one of the trains. Doubleheader, bringing ore from Villeneuve-les-Bains and taking stone back there. New high-capacity wagons for goods like ore, coal, and stone, and grain for that matter. And that was Rensweiler. Now heading further west. Going through a big tunnel under the Schwerthöhe. And now this tunnel is at least shared with the high-speed train, so they still have their own tracks, but they simply widened the tunnel. And you see the catenary on the left, so that's the only instance. What is that? That's probably a building on top of the Schwerthöhe that ends up inside the tunnel. So that's all these small sort of graphical glitches that show the limitations of the engine that they used here to build the game. So the catenary is the only instance of catenary in Gasmea. Otherwise, everything else is diesel, including this tank fuel train coming from Ellisbury, and we're just delivering fuel to Eastern Gasmea. So it will fill then the truck station platforms that we saw earlier with fuel to be distributed to Bad Neusund and Willburg itself. So we made it past the tunnel. Here we see another high-speed train coming in. There are 3 running there. There they do their own thing on their own set of tracks, and here we stay low. And now in the French-speaking part, approaching Chapelle. Luckily undisturbed by cargo trains. So they all seem to stack on each other, then currently moving towards Willburg. And here is Chapelle, and there we see another cargo train. That one brings bricks and will then take steel back. So the bricks again come from Ellisbury, and the steel from the Erkhausen steel mill goes all the way to Harford and then is distributed to the tools factory in the machines factory next to Harford, the goods factory in Springvale, and even to Tannenstein in Hedvige. So autosave is over, and then here Chapelle, and we see plenty of people waiting. So again, good that there is a second commuter train behind us. And here we see why I chose the Alstom-Cleres. That is a French railway line look. So the Alstom-Cleres was a joint project between Germany and France, so it's fitting that this runs between the German-speaking and the French-speaking part and the English-speaking parts of Gasmea. And here this is then delivery for the French railways, and then here we are in delivery for the current German railways, so the Deutsche Bahn. And there are two 3-car units and 1 2-car unit of this running, and yeah, it's necessary. Again, people sizes have grown since the last recording, so we need more trains, and here we can catch a glimpse at the high-speed train track that was built straight through the landscape. And here this one has been laid down, I think 1880? 1885, something like that. So this mirrors the real-life conundrum of ancient train lines that don't really run where they should be running, where they would be most useful, and high-speed trains having to be built across mountains and valleys and whatnot. Here we see trucks bringing logs from one of the logging operations here and then to the Nola Bay, where we are also heading. These are now Scania trucks, 40 tons. So this is one of the trains that takes logs from Chapelle, where these logging trucks go to Aylesbury. And this is already Vinaux-les-Bains, so we get there after this short tunnel. And that's a bit of a hub, so passenger, I think 2 cargo tracks and then a port on the river, where this river stops being navigable. So cargo station on the right, there is the ore that goes into the train that we saw earlier, the double header, and then the port is behind the houses, and here is the passenger station. So let's see whether we can take everyone with us. Probably not. But we've seen the 2 counterparts already, so no big deal if we leave people behind. The next train is coming momentarily. It looks like perfectly everyone loaded onto the train, so that's fine. Birds in the sky, one of the Easter eggs here in the game, so from live animals flying, swimming and running around the map. And if they are flying and swimming, they have the advantage that they're not being run over by trains, whereas the other wild animals tend to die out over time, since they are literally run over by trains, and then I think they're gone. I don't think they respawn, so that's why we see rarely any animal here in the open land area, at least not close to train tracks. So that was the French-speaking part. Now we're moving to the English-speaking part, so road network to the right and to the left, and there's the port just for the ore mine that's here, and now we're moving in towards Pigton, the passenger hub. What ended up being the passenger hub on this map, whereas probably on the real map it would move be Aylesbury, but that's very difficult to reach via train here due to map constraints, so that's why Pigton became the hub. Navigable river on the right, plenty of ships going back and forth. So we are using towboats, small ships on inland rivers, and then the large river ships as sort of coastal ships. There are no useful mods for ocean-going ships. There's one huge container ship which is insanely large and also is broken. If you press the horn button, it doesn't honk the horn, it just crashes the game. So I'm not putting that mod into a save game. And there is, I think, literally nothing that I've been able to find. So that's why this convention, small ships, the tow boats on the rivers, and then large ships for rivers originally than on the coast. On the right we see the catenary of the high-speed train, so in Pigton we join forces again. Just side by side, so we'll never share tracks. One more commuter train. So if that's the commuter train, and then what we saw back in Willburg was the train to Bad Neusund, which has the same livery and was also a 3-car train. So yeah, because here are only 3 on this route. And this is Pigton, so on the very left the high-speed train tracks, and here the passenger tracks. Not the biggest station building, because not many people exit here, it's just people stop and then change trains. On the left, the bricks factory in the distance, where the smoke can be seen, and then you see the 2 high-speed train tracks vanishing towards the left, and here we are on the cargo train tracks that go to Aylesbury station. To Harford, a truck delivering grain from one of the farms, an empty counterpart going back. So this grain is brought to a port here and then shipped along the river towards Vinolaba, which has the food factory. Cargo train to the left, that is another fuel train. Yes, so fuel loaded in Aylesbury cargo station and then shipped along towards the east to Willburg, and one stop in Chapelle, I think. And these only run when they are full. And we should have exited here, by the way, to change. So we're not going to Aylesbury. Good that we noticed that. We're going north via commuter train. So we could take the high-speed train to Harford, because that's where we want to go. But that's something I'll cover in a separate video, which is only about the high-speed trains. So we'll take another scenic route, and this time it is scenic. I will have to wait a little bit for that. And so I'll do that. And then once it's here, we're going to embark on another train. So, and here we see the train that we want. And what we also see exiting then here is the commuter train, the sort of French version towards Aylesbury, that now disappears on the left. And the train that we want goes north. It is of the US style, so a GE locomotive, and then for bi-level cars. And there are 2 running on this line that goes from here, so from Pigton all the way along the coast. And as you can see, plenty of people waiting. And let's see how full the train is. Yeah, so that's also almost full. And so that's then all the people who want to go from here to somewhere on the north coast. So Durbridge, Seaby, Hollymore, Highport, and Barron Hill. We'll only go till Hollymore and then take the north-south connection down to Harford. So I think that's the part we at least haven't seen for a while, or not have seen from this direction. Yeah, so let's hop aboard. And then while the train is loaded here, you can see the longer platforms for the high-speed train, which was extended then here from the last milestone to here, whereas these platforms here have stayed the same. Alright, so then we are also pretty full in this train, and then we exit Pigton station. We have, yeah, so here we have 3 tracks. There we see one of the trucks delivering goods from the south to Pigton. And yeah, on the left you see the new bridge from the high-speed train with the catenary. Everything else is diesel. These tracks here are old. and then shared between the commuter trains and the cargo trains. So we turn now right, and now we have these tracks all to ourselves, and to our counterpart, so to speak. See some trucks in the distance that ship stone from the port, and then bricks back. And next stop on the way north is Durbridge. Again, everything is diesel here, so no catenary. Here we cross the busy river. That ship that's navigable till Vinola Bay. And here is also a bit of a hub, because here is the river that also goes north-south, ends. And so this is where goods often change between ships that go east-west and ships that go then back north, or then south till past Ellisbury, where the ends stops being navigable. Otherwise, the Great Plains, so not much around here. And then in the distance, with some high rises at least, Durbridge. Autosave working its magic. And then entering Durbridge station. Again, new platforms, but the old building. And we can catch a glimpse at the bridge, at least, that's parallel to the north coast, so that's where we are. Then we turn west towards Seaby. Cross the river Enns with this next bridge. Plenty of ships, so there's a bricks factory behind that. That's where these ships are going. And here we have more ships. There's a tanker, towboat, that brings fuel, or takes fuel from the fuel factory near Ellisbury in the south up here. So all cities then here in the north that need fuel. And then we're already on the other side of the Enns and approaching Seaby. Still the old type of train tracks, so this place doesn't really get much attention. They at least built some new platforms, but there would be no benefit in making these high-speed tracks, since all trains here are just the commuter passenger trains. I would even need the two through tracks, but I didn't know that back then when I built these stations, that I would have never ever have cargo traffic here. Here's a new building, at least in Seaby. It was always a pain to switch from a train station without these two through tracks to a train station with them, so I built all with through tracks, even though I might not need them. Here's of course the other counterpart of this northern commuter train. So that's why we have here stations that are a bit larger than they normally would be. But again, these would probably still be fitting, since it's sort of a main line. You see pretty long trains, especially in comparison to how long trains are on the other part of the map, so it's not too far off. And for the next station, it doesn't make sense either. There is literally no through traffic anywhere, but we get to the next station, the stop, where we want to exchange trains so that we can then go south to Harford via Midbury. So another small river that ends here at a farm, Green Hills or something. Been a fair while since I built the stuff. That was among the first things ever built up here. I don't have a map handy. Yeah, so that's how the north coast looks in general. Doesn't change that much. So we're not losing that much additional impressions from the general area by now going south. And then we can see probably something more interesting approaching Harford from the north, for instance. So that's Hollymore. Next to another short-ish river. So you see, if you look closely, and let's look closely, where the painted on textures start, and it's difficult to get really smooth rivers, and where actual water is. So that's the trick that I've had to employ. And if you look from very far away, then it works, but don't look too closely ever again. So Hollymore also new train station, a bit larger, because this one has another track, and that's for a train that goes north and south. So that's the leftmost track from this perspective. So that's the end of our journey with this train, and then we switch again. And we probably have to wait a bit since I don't see the other train. Yeah. So then let's wait for our north-south connection. So there comes the train that we want. So the north-south connection that cuts across the map goes Hollymore, Midbury, Harford, and then to Springvale in the south. And it's reasonably full. So, and plenty of people waiting, wanting to go south. And we see some ship traffic in the distance, so here not as much as in earlier years or decades or centuries. Then we hop aboard, because the amount of goods that are being transported up here via ship is, I think, been the same for the last century. Just the ships get larger, so we need less ships. And yeah, this looks funny. So again, one of the things, don't look too closely. That's the local bus here in CB. And now we share tracks for a brief moment with the North Coast train route, but then we'll turn left, so south towards Midbury. And here we have new train tracks, because here it makes a difference for these curves that we're now going to enter, that they can be taken a bit faster. For the rest, for this stuff that's straight ahead, that doesn't matter. So, we're now on our own tracks, going south. And we see Midbury on the left, and a plane that's circling if Harford is too busy. That's one of the Q400. Difficult to say where it's from. If that's red, then this is the sole remaining plane between Harford and Willburg Airport, because thanks to the high-speed train line, other people take the train and not the plane, because the train doesn't have to circle ever. And here Midbury again has a new building, even with side buildings and platforms. Train is filling up nicely, because people of course want to go to Harford and then to all the other options that they can get once they're in Harford, including the airport. And again, a train station with 2 through tracks, which I don't need, so this is the only train that runs on this route, on this set of tracks. So we're crawling up the hill, so this is pretty steep. It doesn't look like it necessarily, but that's why we're hardly picking up speed. So this is into this mountain ridge that's between the north coast and then the area around the Great Lakes. Yeah, there is the plastics factory here next to Midbury, where the chimneys are, and it's supplied by train, and we probably will run into the supplying trains on our way down to Harford. And here is a small hub for trucks that deliver stuff here up north that these trains bring. And here we have the Cascadia trucks for Gasmea, so from the US car set, whereas we have the Scania trucks in East Gasmea, where I'm using the EU cars. So through a tunnel, here the highest point of the mountain ridge, and now we're descending already towards Harford. So we should get a great view into the Great Lakes area. Yeah, so here we see one of the trains supplying the plastics factory, and we have to get in line. And it takes some... Here we see both actually, so there are 2. So they're meeting here. Going to Midbury. That's already the skyline that you see in the distance. That's Harford already, so it's the biggest city on the map, and it has also the highest buildings. So cargo train is through, and we see more of Harford. We also see our counterpart, north-south, on the left, and we see a cargo, an ore train coming in from Toldstone from the right, so we probably have to get in line behind that as well. Yeah. So we can take our time, so to the left at, what's that, 10 o'clock, see the tower of Harford Airport. The passenger train gets out of the way. Then Harford in the middle. The Great Lakes, Lake Happing behind that. And then to the right it goes to the Highlands. So yeah, the passenger train here isn't a big priority, so they don't have their own tracks or anything, which they could, because we're now going more towards the right, whereas that train has its own entrance into the cargo station. But they're fine, so in terms of capacity, so therefore it doesn't make any difference. Okay, so block is cleared. So we're approaching Harford at 1 o'clock. If you see a chimney and some dark smoke, that's the Harford oil refinery, where the crude, or some of the crude oil from Dalluha, is being delivered and then turned into refined oil, and then that's distributed across Gasmea. And we should now getting closer that we can see the complex network of tracks that makes up Harford Station. So you see the cargo trains having their own entrance to the lift and uphill, going with a bridge over the tracks that come from Ellisbury, and we go here to the right and moving towards the passenger part of the train station. So we have plenty of tracks. And we share these tracks after the junction here with the high-speed train. And we see here the catenary for the high-speed train, because so that the cargo trains on the left, which go to Ellisbury, have their own tracks and are not disturbed by us ever. And that's needed to be able to carry everything away from Ellisbury that it needs to be carried. But these operate always at the brink of not being able to carry everything, and as you can see, a metric ton of passengers waiting to go in all sorts of directions. Not that many here, because this train afterwards goes to Springvale, but on the left, so platform 5, that's for the north-south connection going north, and there are plenty of people who will join that train when it's back from Springfield. On the high-speed train, fresh from Berlau on the right, where also plenty of people wait, but what we are waiting for, that we can exit. What we are waiting for is the train, the commuter train that goes to Crafton and Lawston. And do I see this somewhere? Yes, I do. There it is. That's the Great Lakes connection, so we can simply wait and enjoy a little bit of train and truck traffic. So here is cargo for trucks to be distributed within Harford and also somewhere else. And here are then buses, and also the airport bus goes here. So here Harford Airport, 2 runways, so that's the largest airport on the map, and it needs these 2 runways to cope with everything. And also need plenty of airport buses to shuttle people then to Harford, and then from here, so that's the coach exchange, to the train station as well. So, and you see plenty of cargo trains getting into the cargo station. And so here is the train that we want, which is train 1, interestingly. So this was originally the very first train on the map, which I think ran between Crafton and Lawston on tracks that are still there and haven't been in use anymore since, I don't know, 1890. And with all through the upgrades, that's still that train. And train 1 survived the deletion of the second Great Lakes train, which became superfluous since people rather want to take the plane or want to take the high-speed trains instead of going to Penya via Crofton and Lawston. So I could remove one of these trains and but just make it a bit longer. Okay, so I said something incorrect before. Platform 5 is for the Great Lakes connection, so platform 3 would have been the north-south connection going north again. So let's wait till everyone's out, and then let's join that for the last stint of our journey across the map, which will end in Lawston. It's technically not entirely across the map. We could also take it till Penya, but that part is covered by the trip around the coastline. So that don't think there is a need, especially for that part of the train network, to go there twice. So we end our journey in Lawston and declare this to be once across the map. So on our way south again, and then we'll cross Lake, or just below Lake Hepping, so not across the entire lake, across the brief channel between the 2 Great Lakes. Very busy Harford port, cargo port here, and very busy trucks as well. Here is a machines factory in the city, which names escapes me at the moment, so it's only the city next to Harford, so there was no point in having another city there because it will simply merge with Harford. Some 4-lane highways in Gasmea, of course. And now here under this bridge network towards Crafton, we see many 4-lane highways here as well. So to the left, and also to the south. So towards Springvale, and here then also towards Crafton. Another view at plenty of ships going to Harford, and the final view at Harford's skyline. We shift our attention south towards Crafton. And here we share the tracks with the high-speed train. So that's why the high-speed train Harford, Berlau, Terzo, Leningrad isn't really that high speed, because it always shares tracks with commuter trains, which are fast, but not as fast as high-speed trains. They can overtake, but they might simply also be stuck behind them if they catch the commuter trains at the wrong time, and there's still a fair bit to go to the next station. So some cars at least, but since we have very good public transport here, we don't have that many cars out. Normally I would expect Gasmea being more of a country of car people, and so these highways would be fuller, but here it's simply the simple game mechanics. If there is good public transport, people tend to take it and couldn't take cars if that's the superior option, I think. I'm not sure people are hard-coded to take cars, so here is a Crafton cargo hub for trucks that distribute stuff. Here we have Crafton. Reasonably large, not too many high-rise buildings. And we see the Winley steel mill with the 5 chimneys smoking, being hard at work making steel. And we stop here, of course, at the train station, which has also been rebuilt, so a new building. It's a bit on the outskirts of Crafton, but that's simply a matter of where it has been placed on this train line in, I don't know, 1875. And that's where it still is today. And I see the train is pretty full, so it's basically absolutely, yeah, almost completely filled. I think we'll lose a fair amount of people in Lawston, so that's those who want to go to Karlstadt via a commuter train that we see in the distance. So it's the old high-speed train that had run between Harford and Berlau, and now it's been relegated to commuter duty between Karlstadt and Lawston. And the others will go to the west coast, and that everyone who wants to go to the west coast from Harford can take this train. There is a bus line, Harford Eastport, but that's not that much frequented. And here we see, yeah, all the coal and a tiny bit of ore that's left, but there are ships that will replenish that pretty soon. So here we go right, high-speed trains go left towards Hedvige. So there are the Alps somewhere in the distance. There they are. And here we're now going to Lawston-on-Cleres, full name. And yeah, there we catch another glimpse at the train, the commuter train electric unit. Goes between Karlstadt and Lawston-on-Cleres, and here we are at Lawston-on-Cleres, so the final station for today. So there is one more station on this route, Peña, but there isn't that much to see, and as I said, you can see this as part of the big round trip around the coast. But here we then, I declare we are at the other end of the map. So here is the coastline and Vianta, and so then I can exit the train, and let's see how many people leave for good measure. Yeah, more than half the train, so I guess the Karlstadt commuter train will have their work cut out carrying all those folks to Karlstadt, but yeah, it's the only train on this route anymore, so that shouldn't be a problem, even if the Karlstadt train has to run 2 times. Okay, so I hope this was interesting to see some parts of this map that other videos haven't shown. And for the few overlaps that we got some new perspectives, so approaching Harford from the north, for instance. And if you're interested in other viewpoints of the map but don't want to download the save yourself, then feel free to have a look at other videos on the same playlists with plane rides, car rides, and bus rides, and further train rides. And then I can say, see you then.